And welcome back, everybody, to the wonders of the Antarctic, where most of our intrepid explorers have just, well, not quite crash landed, I would say, but, well, they did break a skid on one of the planes um, on the city of the ancient ones up on the 24,000 foot high plateau behind the Miskatonic mountain range. Um, and where we left the group just having taken their first tentative steps out into the cold, non-existent air, um, trying their best not to breathe the fumes in their oxygen tanks, and head on in. Now, as can be seen from behind me, it's a bit of an unusual recording in that at time of recording, it's breakout con. So I'm in a different hotel room, and Richard is actually at the con proper already. So we will be missing his two, but that's fine. They're just busy taking care of getting things set up and helping the pilots sort out the planes. So let's go around and see who all we've got. Let's start with who is Tomboy bringing?
Big Suze is on our trip, and my audiologist is still back at camp.
Perfect. Nathan.
Valentina Russo is here and quite happy that this landing is over. I'm sure that was the worst that's going to happen, and is looking forward to seeing what kind of pictures she can get out here.
Jogi?
Hello. I'm bringing along Leonard Warwick. Stoddard is back at camp still, dealing with the various corpses, corpses that have been found, and also having to sort of process what was found regarding the previous expedition, and kind of piecing together what that might mean for him. And oh no. Meanwhile, Leonard is out here to try to keep things working so that we can get home safely.
And Jacobo.
Dr. Wigglesworth here. He'll be bringing his research expertise in both glaciology and geology to this one. What a find. What a find.
Ooh, so many finds. And if we move over to the map, and I just need to find the map. There we go. There's the map. So when you flew in over the city, which stretches for tens of miles north to south, edging on in the west to the mountain range, and it's about 3 or 4 miles deep onto the plateau. There were a few things that you found in sort of just looking out at it as you were flying over it. So we have the spot where you decided to land, partially led by Dr. Moore, who thinks that he recognized the plaza from the descriptions given in the Laker text. So the purported memoirs that you got a hold of from your German colleagues a couple of days ago, and with all the incredible things that they describe. Up a bit north of you is the chasm remains of a, well, now very frozen river with a massive frozen waterfall with some statuary. There's clearly a lot of city. Looking at the plaza more in detail, there's a, or will shortly be at least, a reasonable landing strip being set up already by the pilots. You've got the two Boeings, the 347s. There's a, in the middle of the plaza is a, what appears to be a deep hole. Starkweather and Moore do manage to find fairly quickly an opening in the wall of the plaza that they can top hole in off with the help of some of the group, to essentially put up a camp where they can set up the oxygen tents so that you can sleep without actually having to wear oxygen masks. Whereas, of course, outside of the tents, you are continually on oxygen, carrying oxygen tanks, etc. But Starkweather is just absolutely beyond himself with happiness, and he has basically said that he's going to go out and see what he can find and bring back some absolutely incredible artifacts that will be like nothing anybody has ever seen before, to bring back to civilization and make everybody famous instantly overnight, as if you weren't famous enough already. Our good friend the actual doctor on board, Dr. Green, is going to stay with Professor Moore and help set up the camp. Doug Halperin and the other pilot are busy fixing the broken skid on one of the Boeings from the landing. But that conveniently leaves the group of you with basically, you think, probably a day or two without actually having a specific task being given to you yet. So at your own recognizance, as to how you want to spend the time up here.
Valentino would probably get a picture of the broken skid on the plane while they're fixing it.
Oh, absolutely.
For documentation. And then she would probably head over to look and see what's in that hole.
I got to agree. I'm all for searching the well.
All for searching the well. Well, that's certainly not unexpected.
What could go wrong?
Oh, so the well is kind of interesting. Or it's a deep pit with a spiral ramp leading down into it. As you get down towards the bottom, there are a number of openings into the pit wall. Also of interest, as you start to look around, is as you start to look down the pit wall, and the pit goes down maybe 30 meters or so, you notice there are stylized inscriptions on the walls. Much in the way that you might expect to find hieroglyphs in an Egyptian dig. But these aren't hieroglyphs. There's something else entirely. They seem to be, well, much like hieroglyphs, they're clearly pictorial in nature, but they're a pictograph idiom and language that none of you have ever come across. Now, this doesn't necessarily surprise you, because Stanford's memoirs do speak of them coming across these pictograph walls in the down in the city. These carvings that they eventually managed to make some sort of sense of. And they came up with some idea of a history of the beings that had inhabited this now frozen over city.
Valentina would probably try to get, I mean, there's probably too much to take pictures of every section, but she wants to get at least one picture of some of the hieroglyphs. And she'd probably ask Dr. Wigglesworth to step in for scale so we can see how, is it like the whole wall is hieroglyphs?
Yeah, there's, out of the 30-meter depth of the pit, there's about a 15-meter section sort of in the middle that's just this band of carvings all around, seemingly built into about 4 layers, one on top of each other.
Okay. I'd get a picture of that because I don't want to waste too much film, so I'll just take the one.
Okay. Go ahead and make a photography roll.
I will spend 8 points of luck to make that a success.
Okay. At which point I'll ask everybody to make an intelligence roll.
Quick question. Would you all have brought Leonard in for this, or would Leonard be fixing the plane?
That's I don't see a reason why Leonard wouldn't be along.
Okay. I'm not trying to insert him in things where he wouldn't be at, but okay.
Yeah,
So.
I'll put it this way: if Leonard wants to be along, he can certainly be along. His skills are certainly needed to help shore up the ramp in places and stuff like that. So,
the seed work part of being a military engineer. All right, intelligence, you said?
yeah.
He doesn't make it. This is not I can't say all Greek to him. Maybe it's all Egyptian to him, and he's having trouble with the vowels.
That could well be. That could well be. Yeah. Well, it's if you're not used to reading prehistoric pictographs, the idioms can be a little bit tricky to get your brain around. In fairness. So let's see. Susan gets a regular success, and we have Valentina and Dr. Wigglesworth with hard successes. So you start looking at these, and just out of interest, has anybody gotten to the point yet of actually having 5 Cthulhu mythos, or is everybody still at 1?
I haven't seen anything actually messed up yet, so I'm still at 1, but I'm not for sure about everyone else.
Does it start at 1? Because I had it at 0. I might have had that wrong.
Oh, sorry. Yes, at 0. If it's 0 or 5, I guess is the question.
I have it at 1.
5.
Yeah, some people got 1, I think, from the letter, but the
yeah.
journal. Stoddard read that.
Yes,
not Leonard.
yes, that's true. There was 1 to be gained for actually reading Danforth's memoirs.
Valentina failed her intelligence check when she saw the thing, so she only has the 1 point.
She only has the 1 point. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wigglesworth has 5 in Cthulhu Mythos.
Wigglesworth has 5. Okay, no, oh, goody.
This can't go wrong.
Exactly. So, the area of the pictorial that you're looking at seems to be somewhat of a history of the city. I wonder if anybody would be able to give me a geology roll.
Oh boy, would I. I've been waiting all campaign to hear that. see. Oh yeah, it's under science. Ooh, close.
Well,
We're still pushing it, but we got
Push
something.
it.
close is still a biscuit.
Oh,
So it seems that it starts off way in prehistory. And there's a little bit of a clue in that one of the pictograms, at least to Dr. Wigglesworth's mind, looks, well, like it could be Pangea.
Yeah, I'll relay this to the rest of my research expedition team.
Which makes you think that it may well be that the surrounding imagery is from about the crustacean period.
Oof. Yeah, I'll be sure to add all of these details slowly and with lots of ellipses for dramatic effect. From the crustacean period. That's Pangea. Yeah, and I'll do it in a way, of course, that makes me look like I have 5 Cthulhu mythos, which is to say a little bit crazy.
Well, this is good because that also means that you're quite happy to deal with the fact that it then seems to talk about many. Between you figure that the next thing is possibly many buildings or many places of import being built or created in the high mountains. What makes it confusing, and where having a mind that's already used to being a little bit off at 90 degrees to reality comes in handy, is that doing that seemed to lead to a land that was green and fertile, or at least capable of supporting flora and fauna in a way that it clearly does not do today. And what Valentina and with Valentina has her photograph, and together with that, as Leonard is sort of poring over it, you sort of come to the conclusion that it's as if those buildings up on the tall peaks drew in hot air into the basin and created this microclimate area that was sort of almost Shangri-La like. Those of you who have been exposed can't help but draw similarities to the Tibetan tales of high mountain valleys of great warmth and beauty, etc.
Wow. All that, huh? Okay. Yeah. We're going off on a monologue today, Wigglesworth. We're telling everyone all about it. Whether or not they think we're insane is up to them.
Are all these door passageways then all the way around this? Or at least in this one area? Quarter of it, I guess.
Yeah, there's about in total of about a dozen archways at the just above the rubble-strewn floor. Or where the rubble in the pit forms the floor, I should perhaps say. Looks like it originally might have been quite a bit deeper.
So what's our plan here, guys? Are we gonna continue go exploring these passageways? Are we trying to replace or retrace somebody's steps? Or
I'm a little lost at how to express the gravity of the situation for Wigglesworth. I mean, this is like life on Mars stuff for him. Yeah, in the moment he's forgetting what's on the manifests, but yeah, we should go down there basically.
I would say just pick a tunnel and start searching it, because we've got about 24 hours to search around for something big.
did what we read of the previous expedition say which tunnel they took? Because they said they had this area, correct? So
They did, although they came upon it from, as it were, the other end.
okay.
So they arrived at the base coming out of presumably one of the dozen or so arches or archways.
If they came out of an archway and we're being where we are, they may have left some footprints. Can we roll a spot hidden or a track to try to backtrack that?
Well, yes, you make your way down the seemingly impossibly slender and smooth walkway around, well, the ramp. So at the start, the ramp is quite pitted and cracked, and there's clearly been stones falling into it for quite some time. But as you go down, it gets better and better. And about 6-7 meters above the eyes, the ramp turns outwards from the wall in a really graceful arc, but with absolutely no supports whatsoever, and just heads down directly into the center of the space, sort of ending up in the middle. And as you make your way down, you see, amongst other murals, in particular one which appears to be a scene of the plaza above, maybe as it once was, a broad open space with a soaring needle-capped spire in its center, avenues of frond-like trees marching along grassy swords, curving rows of pyramids and lesser towers in the distance, alternating with boxy panels of strange dot sequences, interior scenes, and all sorts of other okay, so you start looking primarily around the ramp where it comes down, just because that's where you make your way down to it first. And certainly go ahead and roll some spot hidden rolls for that.
Leonard got a normal success.
And I apparently need to make
Same for Valentina.
There we go. Catch the stream up to the actual where we actually are on the rolls rather than just showing the results of our last set of sanity rolls, because that would be presupposing. Okay, so it's interesting. Underneath the spiral, as it makes its way into the middle, you come across a mound, and you can't help but think that it looks really like a snow-covered hammock and 3 long, low mounds. Now, that looks awfully like the hammock that you found those elder things' bodies in back at Lake's camp. It's 3 foot high, 5 foot across, carefully hard packed. The snow has been piled up and quite artfully molded into a 5-pointed starfish shape.
Do we dare dig this up, folks?
We're just like in the middle of like what looks like a constructed building. It's almost like
Yeah, or maybe a traffic meeting point. Like
so it's like finding someone it's like finding what we associate what have been burial sites in the middle of like in the crossroads almost.
Exactly.
That seems like a strange place to. Well, if they are the same, it seems like a strange place for a cemetery. It's sort of a high traffic. It would seem. But this isn't my thing. I'm just thinking of building layouts and that side of things. I don't know if any of you would have more insight on that.
I haven't seen these yet, but I mean, I could understand leaving a body at a crossroads to make sure it doesn't get lost in the wild, so that hopefully the next person that has the ability to take it with them can take it. What do you think, Miss Russo? Should we dig them up?
Well, I don't want to disturb anything from an archaeological standpoint. Dr. Wigglesworth, what do you think?
I think we ought to use what we can to study it before we get into disturbing the ground. Yeah, again, there is some archaeological consideration. I mean, let's get some pictures now, I think. Do we have anything akin to sonar? Or that's too far out?
Not with you at any rate.
Yeah, okay. Well, this might be worth reporting back in even to bring some other research teams out first. But
or at least some shovels. I don't know what we brought with us.
Oh, we got some pretty serious drills. We could work with those too. Definitely remember the drills.
Oh yeah. You don't have the drills with you on this particular flight, but that's not to say that you make the note and say, okay, on the next flight we're bringing the drills because.
Yeah, maybe we should just mark this site out and measure it, take some observations and report back in to come back later for a dig. Because I mean, this is our first discovery. If we start doing a deep dive now, we also could be missing out on quite a bit. So we should try to get a summary report of the field area. We have no idea what's out there. That'd be my recommendation.
Come back to it later.
Sounds reasonable.
Yeah, let's somehow flag this out or mark it so that we can find it again.
I mean, it's a 10 square meter area at sort of right underneath the big spiral.
Okay.
It's going to be very easy to rediscover.
I mean, we should have some sort of survey flag, though, I would assume, which would at least mean that we know we've come out the same way we went in.
It's true. I want to put down a little flag that has the Starkmore weather emblem on it, just like a ha ha ha, we win.
Yes.
While he's doing that, I'll get a picture of the mound for scale again, for using Wigglesworth for scale.
Mm-hmm.
And then probably Valentina's curious. She kind of wants to look in each door and see how if they all go like the same distance, or if, kind of if there's a different one that looks different.
Well, there's two main sort of sets of archways. There's archways that are basically filled with boulder and loose stone and ice. And there's archways that leads off into tunnels and into other rooms. And some that lead up, some that lead down. And as you're looking at, I think everybody can make another at the archways spot hidden roll.
We're on a roll today.
Quest Portal is actually being nice to us. This is good.
Leonard is distracted by the architectural details.
Mm-hmm. We'll be coming back to those shortly. So the majority of the group is sort of being led by Valentina, and she's setting up to take photographs of various of these archways and trying to get a flash that will actually show something deep enough in that you can get a sense of what lies behind an archway from the photograph. But of course, with it being white stone with ice and then dark inside and black and white film, the contrast is an issue. But what you can't help but notice is that at least one of these archways has apparently seen quite a reasonable amount of foot traffic. In fact, if people want to make tracking rolls, I'll happily consider those.
Even if we have base?
Yeah, you never know.
If no one else gets it, I'll spend 6 points of luck to get it.
Okay. In which case, I'll ask Valentina for the sanity roll.
Oh boy.
It always warms a keeper heart when they can make somebody get a failed sanity roll because they spent luck on making a SWAT hidden.
That is a failure.
Good times.
You're already at 33? This is going to get bad.
I
That's
took
okay.
some talents that'll help. It's fine. It'll
Yeah.
be fine.
This is just a single point.
Okay. I'll take that one.
Because what you realize is that there's one passageway in particular that has seen multiple beings move through, but try as you might, you can't manage to make the well, let's call them footfalls, match up against anything that really fits a human shape or stride. This looks to be more like the sort of tripodal, pentatoad / star-shaped appendages of those elder thing bodies that are back at Lake's camp. What makes it worthy of the one Sandloss is that, near as you can tell, these are all relatively recent, like in the last few months.
Guys, it looks like these things are still around. Like, Valentina kind of looks around, like feels like she's being watched. Guess kind of backs out of the cave a little bit.
That's simply not possible, Miss Russo. I'm sure what's going on is whatever made these marks, it just doesn't get enough weather down here for it to really blow it all away.
Either way, Valentina checks to make sure she's carrying her pistol.
What do you mean it looks like they're still around? That doesn't make any sense.
I didn't say it made sense. These are fresher tracks. Like, more recent than even the last expedition.
I mean, it's ice. Ice is pretty static, isn't it?
I've never been to the Antarctic before. I would assume there's not much weather gets down here.
Well, there is the continual wind that's blowing and just keeps that slight whistling just beyond the cusp of hearing almost in the air.
Does that whistling sound familiar?
Yeah, but like, I mean, this is Leonard's like, what do you mean? Like this wouldn't make sense. And he's like, but you know, this is we're it's kind of sheltered and we're like inside, like Wigglesworth. Like, this is your thing, isn't it? You study geology. Like, not to dismiss your knowledge, Miss Rousseau, but like, I don't see how anything that could be dead for so long could be around. Leonard didn't read the notebook, so you all know stuff he doesn't.
And speaking of things being dead, but maybe not quite sleeping, you've also, as you've been doing all of this, you've been looking at the mural that's sort of right down here at the bottom of the pit. And I'd quite like for everybody to yet again make an intelligence roll.
Well, that's not good.
Sorry.
Warwick succeeded on his intelligence roll. He's trying to rationalize everything.
And the great Professor Wigglesworth is ever the academic and, of course, quite happily making his intelligence roll. This is good. And I would like Professor Wigglesworth to see how good his geology is at this point.
Fail, so you can be like, oh yeah, this totally makes sense that these are just really well preserved. We're gonna turn Valentina into the conspiracy theory nut with the paranoid map.
All right, I'll go for the luck burn here.
Go for the luck burn. Dr. Wigglesworth's reputation is, after all, at stake, even if it's just in the group of the four of you. So down here, you're seeing what Dr. Wigglesworth is basically coming to the conclusion of must be a landmass, different landmass, earlier landmass, probably Triassic. The hint is that little, well, the stick figure of some larger brontosaurus-like creatures, so Triassic. But there does seem to be quite a period of heavy volcanism that breaks up the land. Now, the next part will involve me having to ask everybody for a sanity roll.
Is there any thing that happens to me for the critical failure there? Do I automatically fail the sanity?
I think you just automatically fail the sanity roll, but you can still apply your abilities to it.
Okay, sounds good.
So Leonard does not make his sanity roll.
It does rather look like failing.
Nobody's
Sue's also failed.
So yeah, but of course, Wigglesworth makes his sanity roll because this is just perfect normal. Dr. Wigglesworth is so busy holding forth upon his discoveries about the Triassic portion of this story that he completely mentally skips past the impossibility of what he's actually talking about. Because it would appear that during the Triassic, a race of seafaring space octopi invaded. So for making the sanity roll, Dr. Wigglesworth takes 1 point. Everybody else takes a D3, knowing, and I recognize that Valentina will probably play some luck games here too.
So it's D3 sanity loss, you said?
Yep.
And Leonard takes 3 because apparently while he was able to argue, no, like, these can't be fresh. Apparently space aliens invading the dinosaurs was just too much for his brain.
Valentina just lost 1, so I'll take that 1.
Yep.
I took 2. My first actual sand loss.
Woohoo! But of course, it's not an actual mythos encounter, so you're saved from the automatic Cthulhu mythos increase.
But I want the automatic.
So yes, in the Triassic, it appears that a race of seafaring space octopi invaded and drove the elderly things entirely under the sea. But then the main island of the octopoids suddenly sank into the Pacific, and the octopoid entities became dormant. And anybody who wants to roll I'm certainly willing to leave the door open for how that could be interpreted.
Sure.
So the space octopi are different than the starfish people.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Valentina's trying to get this in her head. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, the space octopi came and made war on the starfish people.
Let's do this. Let's try
Then
to.
the landmass sank under the sea, and which went dormant?
The octopoids.
Okay, went dormant. I'm gonna briefly drop and come back because I can't see everyone anymore.
Oh man.
Do it, Wiggles.
Yep, I'll do it. I'll burn the luck.
Okay, so it's at this point that Dr. Wigglesworth goes off on some random discussion regarding something called Great Cthulhu.
Oh boy.
And just for full disclosure, Valentina fumbled that mythos roll.
Oh, yeah. Valentina just thinks that Dr. Wigglesworth has gone somewhat off the reservation and is just reissuing his application for weird and wacky professor at Miskatonic.
You're gonna go on about the dolphin god here pretty soon, or the crab people, or what?
Yeah, next up, no doubt, will be time traveling spiders.
That's not far off one of the other ones, so yeah.
But having said all of that, I'm going to finish off with just one more spot hidden roll from everybody.
See if this makes another sand roll for me. Hard success.
Nope.
Man, Dr. Wigglesworth
Wigglesworth
is
is
on
on
today.
Fire tonight.
Okay. So, Valentina and Dr. Wigglesworth, you both, as you're walking around, following the mural between these archways, you notice that by one of the archways is quite carefully positioned into a gap in the stone is a twisted piece of yellowed paper.
I kind of look at Wigglesworth and see he sees it, and we just kind of make eyes at each other and look back at the paper.
I'm sorry, it's a twisted piece of what?
Yellowed paper.
Yeah, I'll reach for it. I'm already kind of crazy.
It appears to be a somewhat dried, or well, rather frozen, I should have, perhaps freeze-dried piece of torn yellow notepaper without actually anything written on it.
Does it look like I could recover it without it falling to pieces or just
Yeah,
disintegrating?
yeah.
Okay, I'll do so.
Yeah, it appears to be basically twisted to give it a little bit of thickness, and then jammed into, was jammed into between a gap between two stones in the archway.
Does Valentina remember in the book we read that they were leaving a trail of paper behind?
That indeed they were.
Okay. Nathan didn't remember that either, so just double checking.
Yeah, looks like we're on the trail then.
Apparently. Which direction does this tunnel go?
That one goes slightly downhill and inwards.
Deeper into the abyss.
Yeah, again, needing to check my equipment exactly, but I'd like to mark the location where we found the paper, and then I'll take the actual marker. At least this time. But yeah, chalk or paint or just the flags again. We'll have lots of those proprietary flags, I assume. Did you already get your picture, Valentina?
I take the picture as you're putting the flag next to the where the paper was. Maybe get the perspective of like the tunnel behind you going deeper and down into this earth.
Nice.
Make sure you have that necessary Wigglesworth for scale.
That's how I'm
He's gonna be
feeling
in
right
all my
now.
pictures.
We're gonna have parts of the family album that are just like, and here's me next to Cthulhu, and here's me next to the Star God, and here's me next to.
Wigglesworth is the investigator for scale in the Malleus Monstrum.
Oh no!
Something bad's going to happen to Wigglesworth, and we'll just have to weaken and Bernie's him the rest of the game so that we still have him for scale.
Look, it's cold. Not going to be hard to do that.
So this is the first time we've run into one of these markers, huh?
I think. At least that we've noticed.
Right. It's the first time we've seen it. Okay.
So is this paper so this must be from the previous expedition then. They must have been exploring here then. Interesting. I don't remember reading much about this. Have any of you studied anything about it? I'm here more to keep things from falling apart.
Wigglesworth and I look at each other, just
Right. Because there was that tell-all document, and that. Right. That was not good. The previous expedition never returned. Or worse, for the ones that did, perhaps. Much is unknown, but it wasn't good. I'll kind of just briefly go over the testimony that was left.
Leonard's gonna be kind of like, it's the surface, like, hey, here's the surface, because obviously there's also, he's gonna be like, that sounds like someone went was it no it's snowblind, not snow mad, but that sounds a bit I can see why it wasn't in the papers. I don't think I don't think anyone would have taken that seriously. But I guess we do have proof that they came this way for sure. Did they describe anything like this mural in there? Because I wonder if they came in from this side or a different point.
We would probably share that we believe they came in out of this tunnel then. So we would be backtracking to them.
I will say that we're high enough up with our oxygen. If their oxygen failed, the low oxygen can cause you to see all sorts of weird things. Going to check to make sure all of my oxygen equipment's properly working.
It seems to be doing okay. I mean, yes, it's the it's still got that rather chemical odor to it because Starkweather didn't manage, or bought industrial oxygen rather than medical oxygen.
Are you all ready to get moving on this backtrack trip?
Think so, yeah.
Let's go. I'll lead the way to make sure that we don't get stuck.
For the first time on this trip, Valentina looks a little apprehensive, but follows along.
Yeah, so I'll take point because I'm by far the largest. So if it gets too tight for me, then it's just too tight in general.
So you make your way into the archway. Fortunately, you have brought along light sources, so that helps. And you find yourself coming down a ramp that spirals downwards through many, many turns. You go ahead and make a navigation roll, I would say.
I'm hoping somebody else has that.
Maybe that's a success. I do.
Leonard succeeded. Normal, but if you need a hard, I can spend that luck.
No, normal is perfectly fine. Basically, at least some of you have some sort of agreement that you've probably been going down for about maybe 100 meters or a few hundred feet. The walls along here are quite sparsely decorated with deeply incised simple signs and external scenes in which sort of seem to show the city in its heyday. In every view, it's just vibrant, but oddly enough, there's no sign of any creatures. At the bottom of the ramp, you see that the passage opens up into this huge chamber. It's quite the large space. It's about maybe 30, 40 meters in diameter, about maybe 20 meters high in the center, and a perfect hemisphere. It's surrounded by a large number of broad low archways, one of which you've come into, and noticeably there is one more single large arch that's fully 5 yards high.
Well, I guess we should probably check out the large arch. That would be like a ceremonial entrance or something. You don't build something that big just for fun.
Are there any what about the paper marks? Are we still seeing them? Do they go any particular way in this area?
You have been following an occasional trail of them, not necessarily at every corner, but every now and then you've seen another piece of paper sort of keeping you on the path as you've been coming downwards.
But they don't seem to go into any particular direction here.
No.
Okay. I suppose that seems as good of a direction as any, Suze.
Sounds good to me.
So you wander over towards the large archway. And yes, it's big, which is interesting in and of itself, but also there's a current of warmer air coming out of it, just hinting at fog and dampness and organic matter, which is weird because so far you've had dry and cold and just ice and rock. And initially the tunnel walls are even made out of masonry and sparsely decorated with cartouches, but that finished surface pretty soon gives way to natural rock. There's occasionally carved grooves in the floor that help with a bit of traction as the tunnel starts to get really steep. Also, quite noticeably, the floor of this tunnel is exceedingly clean. There's no hint of fallen ice. There's no stone dust. There's no matter of any kind, really. It's just clean, but also more interestingly, almost cut stone. It's natural stone still, but it's smooth, but without showing signs of being worn smooth, if that makes sense.
I need to get the number they're made. This place looks fantastic.
So there are some occasional lateral galleries that spur off this steep, downward spiraling, smooth tunnel, you're quite glad for the grooves, or else you think that one misstep and it would just turn into a really long toboggan run into who knows what. But those galleries are just dead ends. And noticeably, and I say noticeably, the air is getting warmer, but of course it's getting warmer from 20 degrees below to about 15 degrees below to 12 degrees below. So it's still pretty gosh darn cold, but it is getting warmer. And after about a quarter of a mile or so, the tunnel opens up into an elliptical cavern about 15 by 35 meters. Look possibly natural, but yet again, it has a level floor. There's a lot of stalactites hanging down from above, and there's several dark chambers that yawn to either side. And that rank, putrid, organic smell is definitely there. It's powerful enough that it's actually overpowering the chemical smell of the oxygen from your breathing tubes or your breathing pipes.
Are we able to tell what direction that smell is coming from, or is it omnipresent?
It's sort of omnipresent, but as you've been going down, it's been getting stronger.
Okay.
And also, there's air movement seemingly coming up from below, whether that's just because it's warmer air and the warm air is rising, giving a draft that way. Who knows?
Does the scent smell at all like remind anyone of the scent of the dissected things back at base camp?
No. This is a this is more of a mulchy, earthy, organic smell.
Interesting.
And as you can see the chamber sort of opening up ahead of you, you also hear what you think. What was that? A rustle of feathers? And you catch just at the edge of the opening, but down ways into the cavern off to the side, possibly between some of the cave openings. Just the hint of emotion. Just sort of, it's a flash and it's gone.
Oh, did anyone see that?
I did. We need to follow that.
There's something over there.
Follow it.
Yes.
What if it's one of those things?
Oh,
It seemed small. Like if
don't
it was
be
on the
silly.
it was big. So
I'm going to start chasing after it.
Suze, be careful.
If we
I'm
get
running.
separated, I'll meet you upstairs.
But what if I get separated?
all right. So we all kind of look at each other as Suze takes off. Who follows her first?
Oh, me.
Okay. Oh no! There's a moment. Who goes off first? Valtina brings out her camera.
Yeah, Wigglesworth is off.
Gets a snapshot of fools running into darkness.
Okay, so
and, I assume we all go in pursuit.
as the party sort of stretches off into an impromptu chase scene, you all see this. Well, first of all, you hear a raucous squawking as this 4-meter tall, pure white, large flightless bird, like those penguins. That's what the prof said he called them. That were trying to pay attention to your equipment whilst you were offloading, but they were only like 4.5 foot tall. This is a lot more. Not only that, of course, it's completely white, and it just waddles urgently away towards one of the openings.
I would love to chase it down. Maybe try to lasso it.
Okay. Yep, you can. It's not particularly fast. It is rather big, however. So I would say go ahead and make. Well, trying to think. What you've got rope. So, yeah, you can make a lasso roll, but I'm going to say you're at a penalty die just for build difference.
So you want me to roll like animal handling or?
I could be persuaded to do animal handling.
Okay. And I want to treat it as a penalty. With the penalty, that is a success.
Oh, okay. So you're getting your so Big Zeus rushes forwards and gets out a rope and swings it into a lasso, and much like catching an escaping husky, manages to get this rope to fall over the top of this giant albino penguin as it squawks even louder. I would say go ahead and make a strength roll.
Valentina's getting a picture of this, so of the penguin wrestling competition we got going on.
That's a success. I am wrestling this big fucker back to the plane.
Well, yeah, it just gets a regular success on its side. So yeah, so you manage. You have a. You're standing, having managed to sort of immobilize this 3-meter tall, probably weighing a good 400 kilos. Albino penguin. You're not quite sure how you're going to move it, let alone get it up that steep ramp.
One moment, my stream dropped someone, so I may disappear for a second.
No,
Yep.
It looks like Big Suze's internet stopped.
It wasn't just me
posted
this
in
time.
Discord.
Okay.
No. Yeah, she lost the internet.
But
Unless she gets wrestling a 8 foot. Wait, no, 1 meters 3 feet, 3 times 4,
10 foot.
12-foot tall penguin.
10 foot-ish, yeah.
That's a big penguin.
And meanwhile, I'm just going to have the rest of you, whilst Big Suze is busy penguin wrestling, make listen rolls.
Can't hear anything over
Are-
the sound of the penguin wrestling.
Oh my god. Mm. Let's get all these bad rolls out of the way. We're about to get our asses kicked by a flock of penguins.
So let's see if I can get this, if I have this approximately set up. That's the pyramid. Here we go. Yeah, this will do. So you're standing around in this cavern with Suze off just to one side. And you take a look over behind you as you hear this new sound that you haven't come across before. A shrill, it's as if 100 voices all at once burst out in a chorus of tekelilili, 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 tekelilili. As in through one of these doorways comes an absolute insane monstrosity of a creature. It's all eyes, it's all pseudopods, it's all mouths, and it's all impossible. And I think with Tomboy having lost internet, that's where we'll call an end for tonight. And we can pick it up at the start of next time with the first actual mythos creature arriving. So I would like to thank you, all of my players who put up with an awful lot today in terms of chaos. And I hope to see you all soon for the next portion of the adventures of what goes on beyond the Mountains of Madness. Good night.